Hey guys, how you going? Welcome back to another video. You know, I just want to keep asking questions. And I think that's basically it. That's all I want to do in my videos, is ask questions, and then basically try and prompt you the viewer, you the listener, to ask questions yourself. No, I'm not watching a game of tennis. I'm reversing my car as I drive to the studio. Now, as someone who's in the health and fitness profession, someone who has a personal training business and helps people you know, get their lives back on track through physical activity and exercise and strength training and stuff like that, you know, this question, like, I was watching the Joe Rogan Experience this morning. Well, not the whole episode, but I was watching, well, it wasn't even today's episode, it was an episode from 4 days ago, but it was a snippet that I was sent to by a friend, and he asked me if I'd seen it, and I was like, no, I haven't, I'll watch it. So I watched it, and you know, something came up in that. I'll put the link to the Joe Rogan Experience here in the comments, I mean the description, right, so that you guys can go ahead and have a bit of a gaze in if you haven't seen it, right? So we're talking about, he talks about how he doesn't understand how people, he basically just alludes to, like, he expresses he doesn't understand how people are so stupid, how dumb people are, and why people are accepting the totalitarian ways, you know, like you can't go, like in New York it's mandated, okay, it's in New York it's mandated that you have to have a vaccine to go anywhere, so you can't go to the gym unless you've got a vaccine, right? So, but the one thing I've been asking myself, and I didn't really think about it until after I watched this, and it sort of spewed around in my brain, but like, you've got all, and I talked about this the other day about the propaganda and how people have forgotten about the 1930s and 1940s, about the mid to late 1930s, where Hitler and the regime used propaganda, you know, used the state's propaganda to tell the German people that they were at war and that they weren't. The other countries that were actually being invaded by Germans, so by the Nazis, okay? So it was the Nazis that were doing all the work, alright? So, and then, you know, telling the Jews that the concentration camps were for them and their safety, and then they were going to kill them, right? So they used the propaganda. Governments have done this over time for a long time, okay? So that's the problem. So we've got the government telling us now, not in any situation when the government's especially in a democracy, okay? In a democracy. Now, I said this the other day in the other video about Jacinda Ardern, okay? She said, and I can't, you know, I'm pretty close to quoting it, okay? But it's around, it's close to what, this is pretty close to what she said, okay? She said, all information should be regarded as misinformation unless it comes from the government. All right. So she prompted New Zealanders, right, New Zealand citizens, right, to regard all information, right, as misinformation, right, unless it comes from her and her cabinet. Now, in a democracy and in a democratic process, you should question everything. Okay, that's part of that's a democratic process. It's about questioning you've got to question everything. That's science, is questions. Science always questions. It's a revolving door. Science is a revolving door that never stops. Okay, so the whole point of science is to prove and disprove. Okay, it's to prove and disprove. Okay, so now you've got to ask questions, especially in a democracy. So if your leaders are telling you that fucking Saki from Joe Biden's bloody press secretary or whatever she is, she pretty much said the same thing. Okay, she basically said the same thing. She said that The Biden administration was working closely with the tech companies to weed out information that is regarded as misinformation, and if it doesn't come from the White House or the CDC or the WHO or wherever they deem as fit as where it should come from, then it should be regarded as misinformation. Now, you've got to question that. Okay, you've got to question the legitimacy of that. All right, I'm getting to my actual point. Okay, so my point, and what, and this is around the whole questioning part, right? Okay, so you've got their propaganda selling you this, like, because it's on the television everywhere, right? Make sure you check in, make sure you get a vaccine. If you feel sick, get a test. Right? So they're telling you all this, right? And they're doing it all the time. They're using advertising on the radio. They're using advertising on television. They're using advertising they're even using local businesses to advertise it for them, because that's, you know, the COVID Safe app. Okay, if you're an Australian, you'll understand the COVID Safe app. All right, I don't know what other countries are using at the moment, but I do know that we use COVID Safe. Now, we're supposed to, under the guidelines, we're supposed to actually check in everywhere we go. It doesn't matter if you're there for 5 seconds or 15 minutes. Okay, you're supposed to check in anywhere you go, right? So if I go in to pay for petrol, and legitimately it is a fucking 2-second job, I literally don't take very long to pay for petrol. I walk in, I swipe my card, and walk back out. Okay, 1, because I know there's money on my card, and 2, I don't have to fucking put a PIN number in. Okay, so and it's contactless, so there you go, safe. So you've got to do that, right? You've got to sign in, right? So you've got all these systems in place, and they all surround advertising, right? Why? Right? Now Joe Rogan said this, so, and I haven't checked the stat, but in America, I'm going to say in America, because I'm guessing that's where he was talking his stat from. 78% of cases that have ended up in hospitalizations have been obese people. All right, and now my business is a health and fitness business. It's a provider. Okay, it helps people in that one, with those challenges. Okay, so I want you to understand that I understand his point of view. Okay, and it didn't really, I've kind of asked myself this question from the beginning of all this crap, right? Because when I checked the stats in Italy and I checked the stats in everywhere else, the same thing came back, right? Already sick people get sick with this, and they generally die, okay, which is unfortunate, okay, but they've got other comorbidities, okay, and those other people who are already sick are generally overweight people or obese people who have problems with, you know, their heart or breathing. Okay, when you're overweight, breathing is a mission. You know, you can sometimes find yourself short of breath really easily. Like going up a flight of stairs can sometimes put someone who's overweight a few minutes behind when they're going up the stairs. Okay, and I'm not laughing at the fact that that's funny. I'm laughing at the fact that it's funny in a sense that most hospitalizations have been with people who have already got something, right? I.e. cardiovascular disease, i.e. diabetes, i.e. you know, lung and heart issues. Okay, so which is cardiovascular disease, CVD. So you got to begin to ask the question, why, right? When we know, because it's fact, we know that the human body, when at its optimal level, right, at its optimum, can fight off anything. It can fight off anything. There are studies where people, I've read the studies where people, you know, they did a study on people who with cancer and who were currently doing chemotherapy, and there was group A, which were basically sedentary, so they were doing their chemo and they were sedentary, and then there was group B, those guys were doing their chemotherapy and they were doing strength and conditioning exercises and working on the big muscle groups and lifting heavy objects as well. And group B were their immune system's response was much better, because if you don't know, okay, when it comes to chemotherapy and stuff like that, your immune system shuts itself down so that the chemotherapy can take over. Okay, that's how it works. Okay, so when someone's on chemo, they become immune compromised. Okay, so when they become immune, that's why they become immune compromised, because because of the radiation turns off. The immune system tells itself, all right, we've got this in the system now, so we don't actually need to use our own. We're just going to shut down, and we'll turn back on when we need to. And in some cases, it doesn't come back on. So it found that Group B had much more response to the strength training as opposed to the sedentary people, so their cancer treatment was actually was better off by adding in exercise and strength training programs. So why do I say that? So the thing is, when the body is running at its optimal level, right, and you're healthy and you're strong, your body's response to things like the common cold are much quicker. So someone who use, like athletes, look, you got to use athletes, right? Use athletes as an example. Okay, most athletes don't get sick, and if they do, they don't get sick for very long. It's usually a couple of days. All right, it's usually a head cold. All right, and that's it. All right, what's a head cold? A head cold is just a runny nose and a stuffy throat. Okay, and that generally disappears within a few days. Okay, if you're healthy. All right, and guess what? Those guys generally go back to training anyway. They go back to running. They don't stop doing what they're doing. Okay, so what happens is they're still training and they've got a head cold, and guess what? They've probably popped a couple of Panadol to get through the headache that they've probably got and the stuffy nose, and guess what? The immune system can respond accordingly, because guess what? They're still training. They're still doing their normal routine. Okay, so we are becoming reliant on something that's probably not going to work. Okay, the statistics are coming out that unvaccinated people and vaccinated people are the same. So it's actually, I was reading the other day, it is more likely that the vaccinated people are more likely to spread it quicker, the Delta strain, quicker than unvaxxed people. So you've got to start to question that sort of shit. So why aren't we seeing more advertising and more propaganda for, you know, gyms, or for health professionals, or eating a better life, having a better lifestyle as far as food, you know, making sure you get the right amount in, making sure you eat the right vegetables and the right fruits and all that sort of stuff. Why are we not seeing that? Why are we not seeing, you know, why do we always, McDonald's don't need people advertising. They don't need McDonald's, sorry, I got hiccups. But the advertising, McDonald's, KFC, Hungry Jack's, Burger King, wherever you are in the world and you have that sort of shit, those guys don't need advertising. Okay, they're already convenient enough, and they're on every second corner, right? There's at least 2 or more in every town or city. Okay, I was driving in Victoria in February, and we were going along the highway out to you know, the Brown Brothers, out to Malawa, and the highway is pretty fucking straight. Once you get out there, it's pretty dead on. But there's stops like every 20 kilometers or something, not very far apart, and most of them had a McDonald's in them, most of them. All right, so you don't need to be told to go to McDonald's, because fucking McDonald's is everywhere. Okay, what you need to be told and reiterated is that if you look after your body and you look after the immune system properly by having, you know, vitamin D, which is from the sun, if you're in Tasmania, then you're fucking shit out of luck of that at this time of year, because it doesn't very rarely pop out. It was out yesterday. Yeah, but if you're in a place where it's sunny and it's nice and it's warm, and that's why you should get out in summer. In summertime, you should spend as much time as you can outside. Okay, especially if you're Tasmanian. Okay, because we know that we don't get it in winter. But vitamin D, all right, good food, all right, wholesome food, fruit, vegetables, plenty of water, all those sorts of things are just not talked about. And you got to ask why. Why? Because we know that shit works. We know it works. It's fucking fact. It's an absolute fact. Okay, there's plenty of fucking literature on it. Okay, there's plenty of literature on exercise. There's plenty of literature on strength training. There's plenty of it. So you got to start asking yourself, why are we pushing something Why is it that the government wants to do this? And Joe Rogan hit the nail on the head. It's control. It's control, right? It's control. If you want to live under a dictatorship, or in a communist country where every move you make is you've got to think about it, then maybe you should move to somewhere that does it, like Russia or China or Cuba, Venezuela, or wherever you feel like that you need to get that communist fix. Because I can tell you now, humans are designed to be free. Humans are by design supposed to be free. Okay, it's supposed to be a free animal where we walk and we socialize. We're a social animal. Right? We like to roam and we like to be free and we like to be outside, most of us. All right. There are things that are happening because under the mask of COVID, and I say mask is because the pun's intended. Under the mask of it, there's other things happening. There are higher rates of depression. Depression medication prescriptions have gone up during COVID. Just last week or the week before, within the last fortnight, Lifeline took its highest daily call log in 50 years. Okay, and they've only been around for about 50 years. So Lifeline, where people call up for support and help mentally and emotionally, and have someone to talk to and about their problems, it had its highest call log, right, in 50 years. And that wasn't only a few hours or I think it was about a day after the lockdown started again in Sydney or Victoria. Like, lockdowns don't work. They just don't work. Okay, they can't work because people have got you can't. A society can't function like that. A society can't function on restrictions, considering that we are the society. Humans are the society. So humans are the main part of the main part of the cog. So if humans by design are supposed to be free and are supposed to roam and supposed to socialize and supposed to innovate and supposed to advance, all right, because we started from a single cell organism, for fuck's sake, all right. So, and we traveled through time into what we are now. So we could either all be extinct in another 100, 200,000 years, or we could be that advanced that the aging process will have slowed right down. We could be that advanced that we could probably survive everything. You know what I mean? Because because of the way we are designed. We are designed to keep advancing. We're not lions and tigers and gazelles and shit. They're not there to advance the planet. All right, they're not there to do that. That's not what they're by design. Okay. Gazelle design: eat grass, shit grass, die on the grass, and guess what? Get eaten on the grass. And then guess what? They become the dirt and the soil. Okay, they break down, and the process is over. It goes over and over and over again. Have you not seen The Lion King? Okay, it's literally what they said. Okay, so that's my video. I want you to start questioning things. It's what you're taught. Between the generation before me and the generation now, somewhere along the line, the whole let's ask questions thing has been thrown out the fucking window. The whole critical thinking thing has gone out the window. Generation Y or Z or what is fucking next anyway? You got millennials and then Gen Z, right? Gen Z have no idea. Okay, They're like each generation, right, is supposed to advance for the next one, and so forth, right? So my generation, which is, I'm just inside the millennial because I was born in 1987. We're supposed to get the next generation ready. We're supposed to be in a phase where things are a lot better for the next generation. So we were supposed to make things a lot better for Gen Z, right? Not easier, because that's what they think. They think we're supposed to make it all easier, you know. But we're supposed to have it to a point where we can pass the baton, and then they can take over, and they can make better changes, and they can make better decisions, and they can make a better planet, okay, for the next generation, and then for the next generation. That's how it's working. That's how it's supposed to work. Humans by design are supposed to advance. That's how it is, okay? All right, we went from not being able to speak English to we speak English. We're an animal that created how many languages are there in the world? You see what I'm saying? Yet we don't question the government. We don't question the reasons why they're doing this and not doing this. We don't ask them, and people are too scared. Why are people scared to ask? I don't understand how people are scared to ask the government, or people think they shouldn't ask the government. All right, if you live in a democratic society, in a democratic country, or a democratic state, you have the right to ask questions. Okay, you should ask questions. You should. If something doesn't generally feel right, it generally doesn't feel right. Okay, that's just how it is. All right, my gut feel on the vaccines and the COVID, I don't really feel good about it, because I don't think, I've done some reading, and you know, when you look at the amount of people that are being hospitalised because they're vaccinated, you got to ask questions. So Joe Rogan, thank you. I think your video sparked a bit of a conversation in my own head, and as a professional in this industry, we've got to start asking that question. And more people in the industry of health and fitness, and the people in the industry of and doctors and health professionals and stuff like that, got to ask questions. Got to ask the question: why are we not talking about this? Why are we not trying to push this? Why are we not trying to push healthy alternatives and helping people see that if you look after your body and you take care of your immune system physically and through food and water and you know, the basic necessities of life, you'll get through anything. All right, that's it. That's the video. Thanks for watching. I'll put the Joe Rogan experience clip in the description, so you can go jump on there and have a bit of a look. It's a bit of a chat. If you haven't seen the dude from Mount Vernon, I'll put that in here too. The doctor from Mount Vernon questioning the CDC and the government and the legislators. He's pretty much spot on. I tend to agree with him. And if you don't know, Mount Vernon's pretty leftist. So for him to come out and talk about it, it's a positive thing. All right. So peace out. You know, that's the video. See ya.